Okay, we are going to write a 2D array program. There will be a 2D array in and two one-dimensional arrays. Okay, I have a constant here, set it to 5, and then with my 2D array, first the rows is going to go from 1 to 5, and the columns is also going to go 1 to 5. So what will this program do? Okay, it's going to display all the opponents that a team played against as headings on top. Click on display data. It's going to load in names of 5 cricket players, and it's going to pick random scores for them, and it's going to insert it into the 2D array. So from the 65 to the 74 is the values in my 2D arrays. The names is in a separate array. Array batsman, and then there's another array total runs. That will be the array. Just close here. That will be the array that is displayed in the total over here. Okay. And then it will calculate the average from these totals, and then when I click on display extra info, it will display the biggest total, the biggest one of these totals, and it's going to check for the lowest individual score in my 2D array, which is the one, and it's going to check for the biggest individual score in my array, which is the 119 over here. Okay, so on activate, I set string grid row and column count to 8, row count to 6. That's just to set the rows and columns of the string grid. Then I added the headings. Remember, when you work with string grid.cells, the first one is the column, second one is row. So it will be, this is rows, row 0, row 1, row 2, this is column 0, column 1, column 2. Okay, so if we look at New Zealand, it will be in column 2, but still in row 0. So still row 0, but column 2, 0, 1, 2. So it will be over there. Okay. The names of the batsmen are entered in arrays, and then I just initialize values for the array total runs to 0. Then I pick random numbers between 0 and 119 for my scores. I use the randomized procedure just to give me better random values. Okay, and then when I click on display, it's going to display my names of my batsmen in the string grid. Okay, I had to say R plus 1 because it starts with 0, but I don't want it to display the names in row number 0, because then it will overwrite the word opponent. So I just changed it to plus 1, or I can maybe just have set maybe 1 to 5. Okay. Display the runs. When you work with the 2D arrays, you are going to use 2 for loops. My arrays 1 to 5, 1 to 5, so the first one will be to run through the rows, and the second one for loop will be to run through your columns. Okay, so for 2D array, we will always work with 2 for loops. Okay, so then I'm going to take the value that was randomized in the array, and I'm going to display it in my string grid. Remember, with the arrays, it's first the row, then the columns. But with the string grid cells, we have to put in the column first and then the row. So they are not the same. Okay, but now I'm going to display the runs in my string grid. And then when I click on calculate totals, I'm going to run through my whole 2D array, because I'm going to use again 2 for loops to run through my 2D array. But for every row, I want to calculate a new total. Of course, when I click on calculate totals, it's going to start here. It's going to run through this whole row till it reaches the end, and then I want to display the total over there. Okay, so I'm going to first remember the first for loop is to run through the row, so it's going to add all the totals for AMLA, and then it's going to display or put it into total. It's going to display it in the string grid. It's going to calculate the average by dividing it by 5 because there were 5 innings. It's going to display it in column 6 the total, column 7 the average. Then it's going to go up again when it gets to the second batsman, which is AB de Villiers. We want to set everything back to 0 and add all his scores together, and then display his information, total runs, and his average in his row. Okay, then when display extra info, I'm going to run through my array total runs, because that is where all the total runs are saved. I'm going to assign IBIG to the first array. Then I'm just going to compare everything to the biggest one. Then I know the biggest one will be left in IBIG, and then I can just say the biggest total is the value in IBIG. If you want to know who that person is, you can just keep track of K maybe over here, and then you can say it was AMLA or AB or whoever. Check for the lowest score. You have to run through your 2D array. To run through a 2D array, 2 for loops again, 1 for rows, 1 for the columns. Compare it to I small. I set I small to the first value of my 2D array, and I'm going to run through the whole 2D array, and the smallest one will remain in I small. Then I display I small. The same with the biggest. I assign the first one to IB. Then I run through the rows and the columns, 2D array. Then it's 2 for loops. Then check for the biggest one. Biggest one will remain IBIG, and then I display IBIG in the widget at the bottom. Okay, that is basically everything you need for 2D array.